Hey Laura, alright, so here is your past life spread. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at where you were, what you did with the majority of your time there, an important day with the relationships and the feelings involved, the second important day with relationships and feelings. We're going to go over here and look at the death card. We're going to get the lesson and the time. We'll get some inkling of time. Now, all I'm going to do is relay to you the images and impressions that are going to be already coming through. And your job's going to be to try to make connections where you can based off of what comes through here and then your current life, okay? And I'll try to help how I can. So just keep in mind, there's a couple of ways to make connections: directly or opposite, which is whatever comes through you can directly connect with, versus what might come through you would connect in a way that's opposite because your soul already experienced it here, like liking something here, so it wants to come back in this life and it wouldn't like it here because it maybe it overindulged here, so it wants to stay away from it in your current, like that kind of thing. But I'll help throughout that too. All right, so let's begin. What came through right away, and sometimes I'll just like get hits before I even lay the cards out or whatever, and what was coming through were like these big trees, like big trees, and the word, I love trees, and so like the word that came through is the banyan, and it's a kind of tree. So just what I want you to do with certain things here, or anything that comes up, is go ahead and Google stuff. If we can get like details like that, you're going to want to Google it. For example, look at a picture of a banyan tree and see if you vibe with it. In a way where if you were to look at the tree, we'll say you see a picture, or maybe who knows, maybe you live near one, but you look at it, if it triggers you in a way that makes you emotional, if it brings great comfort, familiarity, intrigue, something where you see it and you're like, I want to go and be there, I want to see it in person, there's something about it. Those are things that you shouldn't ignore, okay? So anyway, that's what was coming through, and I feel like they play a role here with your past life because they were coming through even before I laid the cards and saw all this. So there's something about it. Now, you can also be connecting to the idea, trees in general. Do you vibe with them? Do you love them? Do you feel like you have a relationship with them? Do you have a spiritual connection with them in any way? Are you someone that you have a tree in your front yard and you say hello to it every morning? Or you sit under a tree to relax or meditate, right? That kind of thing too. These are things that you shouldn't ignore. They're coming up for a reason. So keep that in mind, okay? So we're going to go with where you are. By the way, here we're going to the island card. So I'm trying to feel this out because the island card isn't always like Fiji, you know, sometimes it's like Australia or Japan, or, you know, there's lots of islands. So I'm trying to see what's coming through here. So this feels like where we're going is where the tree is, or where these where these trees are. It feels like the place is not like a jungle at all. Like, not like a jungle. Like, it feels like we're looking at a place where, let's say these trees, they'd be spread out, and between them it wouldn't be like jungly at all. It wouldn't be forest-y. It would be more like just ground, maybe mild plants. I want to say the word is like arid, so it's almost like, but it's not a desert. And I feel like I'm describing a region because it feels like this is not how the entire island is. It feels like this is just how, we'll say, like the like one half of the island is, or a particular part of the island. So we're looking at an island that might even be tropical on one end, and then might be mountains on another end, and might be desert on another end, like that kind of thing. So we're looking at a larger island. It doesn't feel like it's a small tiny island. This feels like it's a large island, and you are part of just a piece of it. Like, you stay in a region. Now, right away, one, you could be making connections to the idea of an island, even in the sense of your ideal vacation might be, I want to go to an island, and it might be like a tropical island. I love the Hawaiian beaches, like that kind of thing, or Hawaii in general, or whatever. That could be a connection right there, but it would also be the idea where these trees seem to be the reigning, like the glory, like the main centerpiece of this place, as far as nature goes. So as far as like anything natural in the area, this place is known for these trees. And so even the aesthetic of that, where if you were to look at, we'll say again, like photos of land, where the aesthetic is the trees and maybe the rest is nothing else, just ground and then big beautiful trees, and that's it. If that is a connection for you, it could be that, how do I say, it brings a pleasure to your heart and soul to see that aesthetic. And I know that sounds random and strange, potentially, but there are certain aesthetics that speak to our soul. And sometimes they come up in these readings to provide you with a direction to go in. Let's say you are seeking peace of mind or inner quiet or like inner peace. Sometimes it's hard to find that, and it's hard to find a place that would give you that. So sometimes it can take just looking at a photo of the perfect aesthetic to put your mind at ease. It's almost like why people hold on to their childhood blanket or stuffed animal, and how they just have to hold it and it'll bring them instant comfort. So too can an environment. So this may be coming up if you are considering moving, or if you are needing a different environment, or if you are if you're wondering, what do I need in order to be more successful or more at peace or more happy? It could very well be that you may be in an environment that is not conducive to your best life, right? So this can be one, it can be a toxic environment because of the people you surround yourself with, or it can simply be that the environment where you are is not aligned with your energy. Every place on earth has energy. I feel like, and this is coming through for a reason, so just bear with me. If you resonate, great. If you don't resonate, just tuck it in the back of your mind for later. It might come up soon, or it could be months or year, whatever it is. Just tuck it in the back if it doesn't resonate. But this is coming up to with the idea. There is something called astrocartography, and I came across it recently, and it's always for a reason I come across these things. I would go ahead and look up your chart for astrocartography. If this is resonating with you as far as the environment that you're in not allowing you to have the peace of mind at the level that you want to have it, or that you feel your soul or heart needs it, okay? That's what I feel this card is about, why that would be coming through. All right, so there's this. Now let's keep making connections where where you can with everything we're talking about as well. And let's move over here. So this card is what you did with the majority of your time. So this is the hunter and the provider card. Like hunter, gatherer, provider, someone who is bringing back resources or helping provide something. So it feels like we are looking at a male here, a male life, and it feels like he's part of a community. And I do want to say it's edging. It's edging on what we would call tribal. It does feel a bit tribal. But it doesn't feel like it's, let me see. It doesn't feel primitive at all. It just feels more tribal. Like there is something about respecting rituals, ceremonies, ancestors. There may be a touch of like magic in the sense of, it feels like these people might dance to bring about energy, or deities or ancestors, like do a dance around the fire and go into trance and that kind of thing. So it feels like it's that, we're looking at that type of peoples. So it feels like your job here is, there's something about you going out and finding, specifically it feels like the main thing you go and look for is different kinds of plant roots, specifically plant roots. And it feels like the trees play a role because there's something about the roots of the trees too, which you might want to Google and go look up and see if there's anything medicinal about the tree roots, either the banyan tree or something that sounds like it, or a tree that looks like it as well, because sometimes I get information like, let's say the banyan tree looks a certain way, and your guides here are trying to convey another tree that looks the same, but I don't have the name in my mind, my library mind, so to speak, all the words in my mind kind of thing, they can't pull it because it's not there because I don't know it, then that, it would be like that kind of tree. So that's why it's important that you look at the tree, see what it looks like, and then if it's not that one, it could be one that looks just like it, but it's different, if that makes sense. Anyway, it's specifics don't always come through like this, so it's coming through for a reason, and I don't know what it is, but maybe you can resonate. So anyway, so it feels like you go out and you find roots. It feels like you're finding roots because it feels like in your community, the medicine man or the medicine woman hold a very prestigious, they are honored. They are honored, they are listened to, they are elders, they are wise, they heal, they're respected, all of that, right? So it feels like you are either, it's interesting, okay. So it feels like one, family, or two, you are apprenticing, or it could be both, because it feels like if you were the apprentice to the medicine man or medicine woman, that it would feel like family, almost like everyone in this community knows everyone. So everyone kind of like, it takes a village to raise a child, like you would be family anyway, so that's why it's hard to decipher, but it feels like there's a family feel to it. And anyway, it feels like you have a knack or a skill for finding roots and knowing if they're, like not just the roots that you need, that's been used for centuries, it feels like, but new ones as well, like finding new plants or mutated plants, and knowing what to look for or feel for, something about even connecting energetically with the plants to know if the roots are helpful, if they'll heal, if they're toxic, things like that. And I feel like there's something more about this that I want to bring through that you might connect with, the idea having to do with being able to tell with people around you their root of their soul. Like, it feels like almost like if you resonate with this, the idea that you have, there's something about you, maybe you don't know it yet, maybe you do, where you're able to just cut right through to people, past their mask, and get to their heart and see if their heart is genuine, or genuine, authentic, if they mean well, right? Like a sense of judgment about people. So this feels like it has to do with that, and to pay attention and to trust your intuition when it comes to people, especially let's say right now, let's say there's someone in your life that might be so new that you still haven't figured them out yet. Maybe you're on the fence about them and that kind of thing. It's like, this is an opportunity to trust your gut if you're feeling red flags. If you're feeling red flags about someone, don't ignore it. Trust your intuition. Don't disrespect your intuition that way. If you ignore red flags, they're there for a reason. If you ignore red flags because there's other parts that you're allowing to outweigh the red flags, you're disrespecting yourself in that way, because your intuition, your higher self, your guides, they're all trying to help you understand, like help you make decisions based on your gut, based on your emotions, and not based on anything outside of you, whether it's a best friend or a family or a lover or whatever it is. Trust how you feel about someone. Trust the language in your body, the emotions, the intuition coming through about someone. Again, if there's a red flag, it's there for a reason. Don't ignore it. Like it's like point blank. So I feel like that's why the root is coming up too. This life is coming up for you, because the root seeker is metaphorical for your gifts as a root seeker in life, with people, seeing through the surface to the root of people. This also indicates healing abilities in yourself. This means that you have abilities to see past the surface to get to the root and heal people, if you so choose. So let's say you're interested in various healing modalities. Let's say you're like, I want to pick up something that I'm going to be good at. I want to help people. If you're interested in spiritual gifts or abilities or honing your abilities in whatever way, I would suggest starting by looking up the term medical mediumship. If you haven't heard it yet. If you have heard it, then you'll know what to look for. If you haven't heard it, medical mediumship is someone who intuitively can diagnose and understand what's going on in someone's body that might be causing problems, right? Like, instead of going to an x-ray machine, your intuition and mind's eye would be able to pick up on what's going on in their body. That's medical mediumship. So that's what I feel like is coming through, is something like that. If you are interested in a new, we'll say, hobby, or you're interested in even a new career idea or a new something, or if you're like wanting to get more into a spiritual development, psychic ability development type of mode, look into that and see if that pulls at you and intrigues you enough. Let's say you're having trouble sitting and meditating, like that kind of thing, like maybe it's boring to you. It's because you haven't found the thing that's not boring, the thing that will make everything easy. So start here, see how you feel. If it doesn't resonate with you, that's fine, but that's what's coming through. Now there's also the other thing coming through with this has to do with the idea of someone who is finding roots and also taking risks in trying new things out that might be toxic or even fatal. And so there's something about a risk-taking ability or skill, or well, some people don't see it as a positive either, so just a risk taker here, right? So now this is a good example what's coming through of whether or not you can connect with it directly or opposite. One, are you someone who does take risks, who strives to take risks, who embraces taking risks, or the opposite would be in this life? If you're someone who shies away from taking risk, is scared of taking a risk, just that kind of thing. You see what I mean? Like, so it's just a opposite kind of thing. So like that theme of taking risks, how does that play in your life? That kind of thing. So that's what comes through here. So keep making connections where you can based on this card. The hunter, provider, that. Now, let's see. Oh, this can also be really quick and random. It can also be that you're good at finding things. Like if someone misplaces something, you might have a knowing of where it is or be able to find something really easily. That's just a little thing that can come from something like that. So that's just other little connections you could be making about these kinds of things. Now, the first important day here. So here we have the graduation card. Now the graduation card isn't always academic, right? So we're in like a tribal community. There's no institution, school kind of thing, right? They do learn, but it's not like a college, you know? So the graduation here feels very much like we are looking at a graduation in life in some way. It could be mentally, emotionally, spiritually, whatever. So there's that one. And with the day comes the relationship of the karmic card. So this karmic card is usually dealing with either your own karma within yourself or karma having to do with someone there, like someone that's there, and this person would be in your life today playing out the rest of this karma. The feelings here, this is an interesting card because it goes back and forth between a few things, but this is lonely or isolation, and here it feels very much like it's an isolation aspect of what's going on. So I feel like what we're actually looking at right here with the graduation card, karmic card, isolation card is, it feels like almost like these people, when they reach a certain age, they are sent out on we'll say a quest, a vision quest, for lack of better terms, because that's the easiest thing that everybody knows. Like, I don't know what it's called for them here, but it feels like a vision quest. So we're looking at natives essentially, which could be another connection to you. The idea of native culture, is that intriguing to you? Do you connect to native culture? The ancestors, things like that. So it feels like they go on a quest, and this is where the ancestors are supposed to appear to them. And it feels like the karmic card is coming up because it's about meeting your ancestor, and almost like you have to go on this quest, meet your ancestor, and you resolve a trauma from another time, a trauma of one of your ancestors before you can come back. And I feel like there is something about taking something in order to get into a state of mind. So again, earlier I mentioned these people do this dancing, trancing thing in order to get to a trance state and invoke spirit or whatever it might be. And it feels like when you go out, they give you the thing that you take, and I don't know what drug it might be, or obviously it's a natural, it would be like a natural concoction, like opium or, you know, whatever they do here, but it enhances, like kind of like ayahuasca. If you haven't heard of ayahuasca, go look up ayahuasca. It's that kind of thing where it's like, it feels like there's something about brewing a tea on a certain night that you're out on your quest and seeing what happens, and this is the night when you invoke the spirits and bring your ancestors forth, and you resolve a trauma from one of your ancestors on this day. So it feels like the karmic card is here because it pertains to the trauma being resolved with the ancestor, because the ancestor also is representative of just another version of you. So it feels like there's karma within yourself that you are resolving, which in your current life now could be the case if you find yourself coming to a resolution without needing the help of other people to come to a resolution about certain truths about yourself. So like around this time in your life, are you finding that there are certain truths about yourself being revealed, almost like a revelation where you're like, wow, I can't believe it took this long for me to understand this about myself? If you're finding yourself in that state, going through something like that, a transitionary kind of state, this is connecting with that. This is kind of like a mirroring of that. And I feel like I'm saying the mirroring for a reason, because there's something about doing shadow work by looking, but it's mirror work. So it's getting to it's getting to the like root causes of certain fears you have, or certain things about yourself or patterns in your life that you're ready to stop and to change and to better and to let go of. And this is done by really looking deeply inside of yourself and doing the work. So this is also coming up, though, I feel like, because I feel like it actually might be very helpful for you to look into the idea of doing a meditation or something, or a healing exercise for healing ancestral trauma. I think that might be very interesting to you, as well as helpful for your journey in general. If that speaks to you and you resonate with the idea of ancestral trauma, healing ancestral trauma, even if you've never heard of it, if hearing me say it resonates with you in some way where it intrigues you enough, you're like, well, I really want to look that up, that sounds interesting. Or maybe you've heard of it and you're like, I've been wanting to do that, maybe it's time. It would be time. So just look into it, because the isolation card, I feel like, is coming up for the idea, like maybe in your current life you might feel isolated from it's weird to articulate. Okay, there's an isolation aspect coming up where you feel isolated. It's not like just from people, because I feel like you don't have problems with people. It feels like there's an okay, that's it. Okay, where you might feel isolated even if there are people. That's what it is. Like you might be able to get along with people just fine, but you might feel like there is maybe like a glass wall between you and people that you interact with, where you maybe feel like you're not going through something with them, or they're not coming into your world, where you feel like isolated in your own world, if that makes sense. So if that's the case, that's why I feel like this is coming through. But it's almost like if you are wanting to break through that and be able to, I want to say like help people, or really be more, because when I say in their world, it means like to be of service, or like to help people, and to also like find your tribe and talk to the people that speak your language and that grow with you and encourage you, like that kind of thing. It comes with the inner work that we're talking about here. And ancestral trauma can help with that. But so too can the other aspects we were talking about. So it comes to also being self-aware of what you're capable of, and not denying certain aspects of yourself that you might be denying or have denied for a long time. And this would be a time for you to start speaking different internally in your mind. So when you're saying to yourself, oh, I can't do that, you need to start switching your language to, I might be able to do that. I'd like to allow myself to be able to do that. I believe in myself. I believe I can do that. You know, just like slowly start to step into a more affirmative way of seeing yourself, give yourself more credit, speak more kindly to yourself, try to recognize all of the potential that's brewing in you for greatness, kind of thing, just that kind of thing. Just be more aware of that. All right, so keep making connections where you can with this day. We're going to the next day here. This is the Enlightenment card, and I like this card. It's like kind of like an aha moment, a day of like revelation. And then here we have the Family card, and this is the Joy card. And I do want to say though that the quest was successful, and I feel like we didn't. They're not like showing me what the trauma was with the ancestor, because it doesn't matter. It's just the fact that he went through with it and he was successful and he learned from it and he returned successfully, and that's all that matters. So that's actually another thing to take away from that, is sometimes the details don't matter. Sometimes it's just about how you feel about it, which is also something coming through about if you dwell on certain things from your past, like memories or relationships or whatever, just stop going over the details of it. Just let it go. And just you can allow yourself to have an overall feeling of how it was, but there's no sense in diving back into the details of anything. It's not going to help. Okay. So on this day, we have the Enlightenment card, the Family card, and the Joy card. Okay, so this is a day of understanding pure, like what comes through very quickly is the idea that this aspect of you, this man, has children, has a child. This is his child being born, and I feel like this is his first child. So he is right here. It's the understanding and feeling of a love unlike he's ever known. And so that is a revelation in itself. This is just a deeper progression, or graduation, I should say, into the emotional body of being human. What it is to be human, to love another person to such depths. But I feel like this is also coming through because there's something about loving yourself. So it feels like this is an opposite connection-ish, where here it's about loving others. Community, loving others, and learning about loving others and loving them greatly, and the various levels that come with love, and when you have a child and a spouse and all this stuff, the love outside of yourself, the love that pours out of you. It feels like this is being shown as a revelatory day of the love pouring out of him, because it feels like it's connecting to your current life, where you're here now to fill yourself with your love in such a way that it's a revelation. That if you learn to love yourself and give to yourself as much as you do other people, or I should say more, and it's not selfish, but when you learn to love yourself properly and trust that's trusting your intuition and speaking kindly to yourself and all the things we're talking about, and loving yourself to the depths, to the core. Loving flaws that you used to hate, that kind of thing, just loving yourself. When you get to that level, this is a lesson that you are here to learn. Okay, I'm sorry, I usually do not do this. So I usually go to the death in here, but this is the first time I'm doing this. So thank you for this experience as I reach for the lesson card first, because this is self-love. And I feel like I need to make this connection right now, because that is what we're talking about. The lesson that came with this past life is self-love. But this self-love card is not about this life. It's about your current life. This is not a coincidence that came through. This is really freaking cool. So self-love is your lesson in this life. And it's not just self-love, like giving yourself love. It's allowing yourself to give yourself self-love for more than just knowing it's a lesson I have to learn. It's about giving yourself self-love with the intent and goal of actually taking pleasure in giving yourself self-love. And that's a whole nother level, because there's a lot of people out here on their journey who are being nice to themselves and loving themselves and doing all the, meditation and feeling, and they're doing the right thing, and that's great. But there's another level of actually learning, and it's hard for a lot of people to get to this level of actually learning to find great pleasure in loving yourself. Let that sit with you. See how it resonates with you. That's all I'm going to say about that. But this is also coming up if you connect with this in any way having to do with family, children, what your views are about that, on that. It could be the very same where you might have children and you love them, and they unlocked new realms of love for you. And if that's the case, you need to use that love, yes, for them, of course, okay, of course. If you're a parent, you're gonna love your kids, okay. But use those new depths of love that you learn to feed yourself and feed your heart and fill your love bucket, okay? So from here, excuse me, we're just gonna go to the death card, since we already took care of that. Now the death card here is the murder card, and this card comes up sometimes, sometimes it's like full-on murder, you know, by other people, but this actually feels like when this card comes up and it's not someone else killing you, it means intentional death, meaning you did it to yourself. Now, sometimes it's suicide, but not here. It was an accident because it felt very much like not a new plant, not a new root, but it feels like there were roots that were mixed together that had never been mixed together before, and when they're mixed together, they create a toxin that kills. So I feel like you tried it, there's the risk, and it ended up killing you. It feels like little stabby pains on the inside of your body. So little stabby pains going through all the nerves. It was a nerve drug. So what did it do? It did a nerve thing where it almost like it paralyzed you, and then a little burny, fever kind of thing, but it was mostly internal. So the only connection that I would say, if you get little pricks in your body here and there, or if you have any issues with your nerves, like your nerves twitch uncontrollably sometimes for no reason, it's that kind of thing. So like any connections you can make with your nerves, your nervous system, even if you find that some parts of your body go numb for no reason, those might very well be connections to how you died here. And if that's the case, you can always go into meditation, get hypnosis done, regression work kind of thing, and that can go away. But if it's not bothering you, then it's not a big deal at all. It would be like remnants left over. It's not like it's going to happen again or anything like that. This can also mean that you might have a fear of being poisoned, or a fear of eating certain things, or food sensitivity to certain things, because it was what he ate that killed him. So that translates sometimes over into allergies and sensitivities when it comes to food. So if you have any food sensitivities, very well could be related to this, especially if it has to do with like anything plant-based, which would be an odd sensitivity or allergy to have with something that might be plant-based. But hey, I mean, people are allergic to corn, so who knows? So there's the death card. And as far as the time goes, I'm trying to get a feel for this, but the fact is, it feels like these people really it's not that they didn't keep time, it's that it didn't matter to them. Like, they knew the times of the day, like, okay, it's morning, we need to get all these tasks done, it's afternoon, get this done, like that kind of thing. But it doesn't feel like there's like a calendar year kind of thing, so I'm trying to, it was tribal. It was more tribal, and I want to say that it was not modern times like the rest of the world. Okay, so when I focus on the rest of the world during this time, it feels like kind of like horse and buggy, like a horse and buggy era, which spans a long time. It spans centuries, where they used the horse and buggy carriage kind of system, but it would be that. So we're not talking ancient times either. So it's not ancient, but it's not modern. And honestly, for it not to get more detailed means it really doesn't matter. There's so many other details for you to look up that matter way more. But yeah, so good luck. Look up all the stuff, and hopefully you resonate with some of that and you can make some connections here. And thanks for letting me read you.